light show thanks to what appears to be some space junk.
Joining us live in studio is Seth Jarvis from the Clark Planetarium. We've just been talking with Seth about what exactly was that last night and what caused it. Tell us again, if you would, Seth, for our audience's benefit.
This is a known phenomenon. This is a reentry of a Chinese rocket booster. It was called the Chang'e 2. It's part of their Long March series. So it was anticipated that this rocket would be returning to Earth. It's just that occasionally it returns to Earth over a populated area at a time of day when a lot of people are looking up in the sky. These things happen all the time, but it's a big planet and there's not always somebody underneath. And when there are people underneath, sometimes it's the middle of the night and they're not, they're asleep.
So I guess I was reading on the AP that this happened over not only Utah, but parts of Nevada and California as well.
People were seeing it in California.
Yeah.
So when people in Salt Lake City said, oh, it's happening down south, they think it's happening over maybe Point of the Mountain or something. In reality, this is something that's happening like 60 miles overhead, and it's hundreds of miles away.
Wow.
Is it ever of danger to people?
There are dangers of this space debris phenomena where if there's a particularly dense, heavy object like a combustion chamber or a pressure, or a valve or a pump or something like that. But mostly these are big, empty aluminum cans. The fuel is expended. The booster has exhausted it's done its job, and now it just re-enters the atmosphere at 17,000 miles an hour, and it just vaporizes from the heat of re-entry. So there's nothing left.
So this was a Chinese rocket that launched back in April. Aren't there like systems to maybe prevent these things from breaking up over civilizations, maybe over the Atlantic or the Pacific somewhere, something like that?
The danger is not to human beings because it's a big planet and people are very, very tiny targets and they're spread out. But there is a real danger from space debris, the space junk phenomena, in that space overhead is getting really, really crowded, and these things represent a threat to other satellites. And so you have instances where in the days of the space shuttle, it would come home with chips in the windshield.
Sure,
and the International Space Station has to occasionally maneuver itself to sort of dodge a problem with a piece of space junk. So space junk is a real serious threat. There's an international treaty now that governs if you're going to put something up in space, you've got to have a mechanism for getting it down. But the problem is the atmosphere is a funny, unpredictable thing, and you can't know with exact specifics when something is going to re-enter. In the case of this rocket, we knew that it was going to re-enter at a certain time, which, by the way, was supposed to be this afternoon at about 4 p.m. Mountain Time.
Okay.
But it's plus or minus 8 hours. And so with that 16-hour window margin of error, these things orbiting the Earth every 90 minutes, then in that 16-hour margin of error, it's going to orbit the Earth a dozen times, which means that you can only know approximately the day that it's going to come down, but it could come down almost anywhere on Earth.
So it gave us quite a show. Which
Sure was.
And social media lit up. I mean, suddenly my cell phone goes nuts. My Facebook page, everybody's messaging me.
And so did ours. Our phones
saying,
lit up.
what's that?
And everything.
But the cool thing is everybody's got a smartphone, and so they were whipping out their phones and they're shooting video.
Some
and
great
we've got
video
a
of
lot
it.
of awesome video of
We
this
could
thing.
talk about
awesome.
this
I
for
know,
all day. I
forever.
wish we had
I'm
more time.
sorry.
But no, thank you, Seth. No, I appreciate you. Seth Jarvis from the Clark Planetarium telling us about what that was in the night sky last night on the KSL In-Depth. 6:19, and we do a triple team traffic now. And back over to you, Andy.
Amanda, watching a nice drive on I-15. Those of you heading north should be able to get from Draper to downtown in about 15 minutes along I-15. Traffic on the 215 belt route, no problems yet on either side of the valley. Bangor High